Hey, welcome back to the shop. All right, we're going to get back on this Yamaha bear tracker. We ordered a carburetor for it. It's been sitting around. I just had so many things going on. I hadn't had time to fool with it. So we're going to jump back on this today. See if a carburetor fixes our stalling problem. I've had this carburetor off several times and just can't seem to get it right. I don't know if we're having a clutch, not a clutch, a choke problem. These things have a funky little diaphragm in the top. I'm not sure if there's something wrong with that and it's screwing us up or what's going on. But after this thing runs for about 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe even less than that, 5 minutes sometimes, you say you go up the road and you let off, runs fine, you run through the gears, and all of a sudden you let off the gas to like stop and turn around or something, and it dies, and it doesn't want to start back up for like 15-20 minutes. It's rather annoying. So we're trying to get this thing to run like new again, and hopefully this little cheap China carburetor that we've ordered for it's going to help us do that. We'll see. All right, so we ordered one of these Amazon kits that comes with just about everything under the sun for the carburetor. I can get into it. Comes with a new air filter. Something's inside there. Came with an oil filter too, which we need to change. So looks like the throttle cover and the bolts. New intake. Fuel filter. And last but not least, the carburetor. All right. Hopefully this will solve our problems. We'll soon find out. Let's get this thing torn apart. What's up, Kevin?
You putting the carburetor on?
Yeah.
It looks pretty big.
Yep, they are big.
Compared to this little red one. I'll probably have to get a new clutch.
I don't know.
Maybe the carburetor helps a little bit.
I don't know. It's probably not. I think it killed the starter clutch, but
Yeah. At least next time you know how to put it in.
gee, thanks. I just put it in the day before you killed it. Okay, so we got the, oops, there's the cover for the throttle. So basically you just push this up and that little brass piece slides out and you get the cable out of there. It's gonna be hard for me to film it one-handed doing that. It takes two and a half hands. All right. Okay, so now you got that piece out. The cable just slides in that little hole right there, and it slides in a hole there. So now I'll unscrew the cable here, and it'll allow this to come through the hole. Okay, so there's the old one off. I've had this thing on and off a million times. We've cleaned it several times trying to get it right, and just haven't been able to get it right. And I think the diaphragm at the top, which is right here, right there, I think something's wrong with that, but I'm not 100% certain. So we're gonna pop this one in and see what it does. First I gotta get that intake off because I ordered a new intake. I want to make sure there's no vacuum leaks there. We got the new intake here. It goes right there. It looks like we got some Allen headed screws or bolts. We'll get those out real quick and get a new intake mounted up. It's a 5mm Allen head. Get that broke loose. This other side has a holder for the throttle cable. It's a little corroded. Oops. I just want to make sure we don't have, see that's a little bit of cracking in the boots there. That could suck air and cause lean conditions, so we want to go ahead and get that replaced. We'll make sure your surface is clean. You can take a little light piece of sandpaper to it, or a little rag with some oil and then some brake clean. That's probably what I'm going to do. Take a little bit of WD-40 to it and wipe it down real good, and take a little brake clean and clean it off real quick. New kit came with new hardware, new O-ring, and the boots molded onto the intake. Okay, the intake's on. The bolts that came with it are too long, so that's no use. It's nice that they sent some bolts, but they are too big. So we put the factory ones back in. Now we'll slide the carburetor in and get it secured down. Well, after I put the cable in. Gotta put the cable in, then we'll slide it into place and then secure it down. We gotta get the throttle cable back through. We feed it down. Well, we try to feed it down. Come on. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Come on through there. Sometimes you gotta play with the tip a little bit. There she goes. The cable's supposed to spin, but it doesn't want to, so I'm spinning the carburetor on. Its thread's on. Just gonna thread it up. And that's how you adjust the throttle. So I'm just gonna have to kind of keep going back and forth with it, which is kind of a pain, but it's just what we've got to do to make this one work. Where did my brass piece go? That's no good. Can't hook up the damn carburetor without it. There it is. There. You want to make sure your throttle's going wide open, and it is. Looks like we landed in a perfect spot. And should we fool everybody and put the original Makuni carb cover back on? Yep. Here's our Makuni China cover up carburetor. It's just a side cover to keep the dirt out of your throttle cable. Fuel line back on. Tighten up your clamps. Alright, draw out your drain. There's your clamps now. And it's got its own vent that comes up. I may connect the factory one. We're going to see if this thing will run first. We're going to turn our fuel on. I'm assuming we still have gas in this thing. Let that bowl fill up for a minute. All right, so we got everything buttoned up. We're gonna see if it'll fire up. Well, what I didn't show is I cut the line in half and put a filter in just to grab any dirt. You hear that starter free spinning. That's what I fixed in that one video. But my boys, when we were at our hunting property on the maiden voyage of these two four-wheelers, this one in the 600, when I was out getting a feeder out of the woods at night, they took it upon themselves to try to get this thing running when the carburetor was acting up, and they killed the starter clutch again. So I've got to order another one to replace it. But it does still work a little bit, but they stripped it out again. Kind of mad at them about that a little bit. Creating a lot more work and money for me on both these four-wheelers when they were doing stuff. But all right, see if it'll crank. Gotta get this bent back up and welded. Sounds good. Sounds a lot better than it did before. Let it warm up a minute. This one's a little smoky. It may need to be re-ringed soon. I don't know. If it does, then I'll put a big bore kit in it. We got new tires for it, so we'll be taking these wheels and tires off. I may clean those wheels and paint them. I don't know. I may not. I may just leave them alone. It's just going to be a kid's bang up four-wheeler for bouncing through the woods, and mud puddles and junk like that. So I don't think I'm going to fancy it up too much. It's not a Banshee. Still isn't running right. Yeah. It acts like it's way too lean, like the big one. But doesn't like throttle. Maybe having a fuel delivery problem. Wonder if the petcock's stopped up. we got a fuel delivery problem. Okay, so you can see from the wet tires and the grass and mud and crap stuck to this four-wheeler that it's running. Forgot the gas was off. It's still not running the best. When I first put the carburetor on, it had a real bad flat spot. Like it would idle fine, and then you give it a little gas and it would bog out and you could power through it, kind of like the 600's doing. And so I started trying to figure out what was going on. Couldn't find it. Had plenty of fuel flow. Checked to make sure we had fuel coming out of the petcock to the carburetor, and then I made sure we had fuel flow coming out of the bottom of the bowl. Everything was flowing full. It was full flow and no problems. So I ended up loosening the boot at the intake. I slid the carburetor back just a touch, and and I tightened it back up, and that seemed to help. Don't know why, but it took that flat spot out. So I don't know if it was sucking air right there or what, but something weird was going on. It's got a new air filter, so there's none of that, and the box seems to be flowing. So I don't know, but now it runs fine. The kids have been riding it all over the place, but it just doesn't have the power that it did before. I mean, I made sure that the throttle cable's pulling the throttle wide open, and it is. So we're still not done with this on this fuel and air delivery. This thing is, like I said, it runs okay. They've been, all three of my kids have been riding it around for the last hour. No problems. Just, seems like it had twice the power with the other carburetor on it. Don't know what's going on there. So I don't have any more time to fool with it right now, so there'll be further videos in the future on this thing. Is it rideable? Yeah, it's rideable. Don't know if I would trust it going up big hills or anything like that in the woods, but just doesn't seem to have the power. I know it doesn't have the power that it did before, 'cause when I first rode this four-wheeler, I was like, dang, this thing's going to be too fast for these kids. But now it's probably got the perfect power for them, for learning the gears and getting comfortable on it. But to be honest with you, that 70's probably just as fast, and that's a problem. So we'll play with it tomorrow some, maybe, or in a few days. I've got to do some more projects. We're still working on this Trans Am. We got lots and lots of stuff going on with it. I've got to do my brother's Jeep. Got a full day ahead of me tomorrow on that, and we're going to be doing a oil filter extension housing project on that, and a thermostat. So stay tuned. You want to see more content? Hit that like and subscribe for me. Help us grow the channel. We appreciate you watching and hanging out. We'll catch you next time. Peace.